Moscow is situated in western Russia, close to the country's border with the Ukraine, Belarus and Estonia. Lying on the Moskva River, it is the country's capital and its largest and richest city. Moscow holds a special place in the world's imagination. Opulent, spectacular and grandiose, Moscow has been at the epicenter of some of the history's most pivotal moments. It echoes with stories of triumph, tragedy and innovation. Stories of legendary tsars and literary greats, political revolutions, and the international space race that changed the world forever. Today, Moscow continues to fascinate. Thoroughly modern and with a European air, it has a population of more than 11 million people, the world's highest concentration of billionaires, and an attitude befitting one of the world's great cities. There is no better place to hear the whispered tales of Moscow's past than in Red Square, Moscow's very heart. Admire St. Basil's Cathedral, a building so magnificent that, according to legend, Ivan the Terrible had the architect's eyes removed, so he could never again build anything so beautiful. The Kremlin is another Moscow icon, and it has been home to the city's ruling elite for 1,000 years. Visit the Cathedral of Archangel, the Cathedral of Annunciation, and Ivan the Great's Bell Tower, all within these red walls. Many of Moscow's most famous stories have been forged in the fires of war. Pass through the gates into Alexander Garden. The park pays tribute to Moscow's unbreakable spirit and is home to the tomb of the unknown soldier. Nearby Victory Park is another powerful tribute to those who fell defending the city, including the millions of Soviet soldiers who died in the Second World War. As the Cold War between the US and Russia intensified, a different battle began, the race for supremacy of the heavens. Again, Moscow was right at the epicenter. Visit the Monument to the Conquerors of Space, a towering memorial that celebrates the aerospace triumphs of the Soviet people. Learn more about the space race and the epic contest between the world's superpowers at the Memorial Museum of Cosmonauts. Immerse yourself in one of the Moscow's proudest stories, that of Yuri Gagarin, who shocked the rest of the world and became a national hero when he became the first ever man in space. In Moscow, artists and literary greats are honored as heroes just as much as adventurers. Visit the Pushkin Museum of Fine Arts to see some classic works by Russian and European masters. Watch a performance of the Bolshoi, one of the oldest and most renowned theaters in the world. Walk the same streets as some of the world's greatest writers, including Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, and Chekhov. There's such a proud literary tradition in the city that many of its beautiful parks are named after influential poets and authors. Relax beside the fountain in Pushkin Square, or stroll along the boulevards in Gorky Park, Moscow's famous Central Park. Take a haunting tour through the fallen Monument Park. When the Soviet Union collapsed, many of the city's most evocative monuments were pulled from their pedestals and dumped in this statue graveyard. More recently, modern sculptures and public artworks have been added, making it a fascinating place to explore. But perhaps the best way to understand how the old and new coexist in Moscow is with the trip underground. Take a ride on the Moscow Metro, more like an art and history museum than one of the most efficient public transport systems in Europe. With opulent marble walls, grandiose chandeliers and heroic artworks, each of the early stations has its own story to tell of Russia's culture, heroism, and technology. Moscow has long had a proud cafe culture, and the city's coffee houses and restaurants remain a place where Muscovites come together to share their own stories over rich traditional foods. As your time in the city draws to a close, you'll come to realize Moscow is one of the world's great stories, from epic, sweeping sagas that changed the world to smaller tales of loss, luck, and happiness. But there's always room for more. So come and create your own Moscow story.